Oh,
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your man, Cat.
and this is Kwesi, and you are looking at the Cat and Kwesi show where we offer self care, fitness, and finance advice, especially for men of color.
Yeah, this series is brought to you by Heal the Hood.
Oh, yeah, this
Oh,
series is also brought to you by Alignment Agency, where
hey,
wealth
see
and
that?
wellness
That's the
unite.
that's the beautiful thing about going live, right? You get
Yeah.
that. You're like, was it my turn to go?
And we gonna keep it going though. We always gonna keep it going. So this series is also brought to you by Alignment Agency, where wealth and wellness unite. And today's topic is drum roll, please. Drum roll, please. Today's topic is how to
Word,
avoid the drive-by in East Oakland. No, no,
come
no.
on.
How to stay positive during the pandemic. So
Ooh,
we are here
how to
today.
stay positive during a pandemic?
Yeah,
The one that
yeah,
nobody could foresee, except Bill
yeah.
Gates and them.
Yeah. Oh, well, we ain't gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that. They're gonna shut down the show before they even get started. But
Hit the cancel button. We
right,
got to get these brothers off the
right.
air.
They ain't live nowhere. But that being said, Kat, I'm very, very grateful to be here. And as a matter of fact, just to give honor to this space that we're creating, I'd like to hear from you. What is the best thing that's happened between today and the last time we met? So not met, but last time we went live. What's the best thing that's happened?
What's the best thing that's happened?
Yes, sir.
Um, I continue to be able to build my brand. My brand
Yes.
is continuing to grow online and
Yeah.
getting back to having live clients again, in-person clients. So, I can't complain at all, man. To
Yes.
during these times where a lot of people are losing jobs and wondering where their next paycheck is coming, I am blessed enough to say that I have created a brand that has withheld the time of COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm blessed, man. I'm very blessed.
Yeah. And that's a blessing indeed, especially because I saw a statistic, what is it, just a few days ago, saying that 41%, that's 41% of black businesses have shut down in the
Wow.
last, I want to say 6 months. 41%.
Now, I could have easily fell into that category. I could have
Yeah.
easily, with the gym shutting down and everything, and not being able to pivot,
Right.
because I don't have any background experience when it comes to online training, right? But being an entrepreneur, sometimes you have to just go with the flow of things. When your business tends to shift, you have to be able to shift with the business and the times as well to stay relevant, right? And that's what to do. Even though, you know, I haven't told too many people this, but right before the pandemic hit, right? Over years building my brand, I was seeing some of my best numbers right before COVID hit, right? I'm like,
Mm.
oh yes, man, I'm finally really in the green with my
Yeah.
business and everything's in the
Yeah.
flow and everything's going perfect. And guess what? COVID
What?
hit,
Yeah.
COVID hit, and I had to hit the reset button.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God. I was like,
Yeah.
just when the right fruit on the tree was ready
Right.
for pickings,
Hurricane.
hey, everything shifted, but we
Yeah.
pivoted with COVID, and now went through that rough period, that growth
Yeah.
period of that online training, and now boom,
Yeah.
we're seeing that growth once again. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
beautiful. That's beautiful. And I'm actually on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, right?
Mm,
When COVID first hit, I was actually in a major, major slump in my business, a
wow.
major slump. And ironically, COVID is what helped me help bring me out of it, right?
Yeah.
Not just because of the mindset shift, but also the increase in a desire to become financially literate, right? To
Mm,
know what was going on with people's money, especially with the stock market going haywire, people losing money out of their 401ks, people understanding the value of having life insurance, right? When people are like dropping dead in the streets,
yeah.
right? And it's more important now than ever to have that mindset of progress, right?
Yeah.
Just becoming better. And if nothing else, at least being open to doing things differently than we
Yeah.
did
I
before
want
the
our
pandemic.
viewers that are hopping on as well to also share their experience during COVID,
Yeah.
what they've been experiencing with their job and these different times. Because me personally, also with the kids, it's also been a huge pivot with the kids and their learning experience doing online homeschooling. Well, our youngest has done homeschooling for the last couple years, but
Wow.
our oldest three, it's been a real challenge for making that transition to sitting there in front of a computer, for a whole school day, pretty
Yeah.
much, versus actually being in the classroom and being in that classroom setting, which
Right.
they have done excellent these last 10, 12 years, right?
Wow.
And now putting them in a different environment, oh my God, it was like,
Yeah.
how do I make
Yeah.
these adjustments?
Man, and that's so real because I work in obviously finance, but with an entrepreneurship lens, right? Like a business ownership lens. And one thing that I've learned through this process is the people who can adjust the quickest are the ones that excel beyond everybody else, right?
Mhm.
Because some people, especially during the beginning of COVID, they were in a very like, when is this going to go back to normal mindset,
Yeah.
right? When in all honesty, a lot of what was happening was not normal, right? When you look at the Black Lives Matter movement and you look at Me Too and you look at Donald Trump in office, and it's like, if that's normal, I never want to go back to that, right? So it's really powerful how we've been able to make this shift and people are essentially creating a new normal,
Yeah.
right? And I know part of why we wanted to bring some of the people together today. We love to see your comments in the chat, right? Preferably positive, because that's the theme of today's episode: how to stay positive during COVID, how to stay positive in the midst of a pandemic. Because if you want to find negativity, just turn on the news. They
Yeah.
will pump your veins with as much negativity as you can handle. But if you want to find positivity, then you're in the right place. And we like the audience to make the speaker. So please speak to us as we speak to you. That
Yeah.
sound good?
Make sure that you're dropping some of those comments so we get this conversation going. But one of the things that I noticed was the essentially when COVID first happened, and it's almost been a year. That's really trippy. It's almost been a year since this change in society, right? And a lot of people thought it was going to be like maybe like a month, maybe 2 months that we were going to go through lockdowns, and then everything, like you said, was going to go. Everybody was going to go back to work, and everything was going to be normal. And after that first month or two, people really was like, "Oh man!" Like people started being at home, still gaining weight.
Hmm.
That's why I was hearing like, well, I gained the COVID-10 or I gained the COVID-15.
Yeah,
Been at the house
yeah,
eating and not working out and doing my
yeah.
normal routine. And it's like, why stop? Like,
Why
I-
stop?
yeah, why stop? Like,
Yeah,
I know it's a new challenge. It's a new challenge to work out from home, and it's a different experience. But why stop investing into yourself, right?
exactly,
Like, it's easy
exactly.
to stop and quit anything. Like when it gets challenging.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, you know, especially when times get rough, right? Like you said, the real entrepreneurs look at that times as like, okay, how am I gonna
Game time.
separate myself from the pack right now? Because
Yeah.
it's a lot of different opportunities, and that's how I looked at it from a fitness standpoint. It's like,
Right.
okay, a lot of people, all these corporate gyms,
Yes.
the 24-hour fitness, the Planet Fitness, all these places that have thousands of clients,
Yes.
what I'm saying, are shutting down, right? And they only have so many resources. How can I
Yes.
be another resource to the community? What can I offer
Man.
that they're not offering,
Yeah.
right? And I saw a window opportunity now. Like I said, it was a point in time where I had to make that transition to make it
Hmm.
for the clients where I was like, okay, what do they need that I can offer them from home,
Exactly.
you know? And
Exactly.
looking 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 at it from that standpoint, I was like, okay, these are these are key things. I'm waiting for them to tell me, hey, Cat, I need this, I need this. I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. You know,
Hmm.
not telling them, a lot of times it's funny how people tell you what you need, but your biggest audience tells you and you provide that service. Right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so many people I saw, whether it was on social media or different entrepreneurs that I follow, looked for what the people were asking for and then filled it. Boom,
Yeah.
boom, and fed off that energy and was riding those waves.
Yeah.
And I feel like this time has created a lot of millionaires in the same sense of separating that generational, I mean not
Yeah.
generational, but that wealth gap as well.
Hmm.
Because people that couldn't make that adjustment fell back, and those that could, hey, they're
Yeah.
reaping the benefits of it right now.
Yeah. And I also, so I appreciate everything you just said, right? I can tell we're on the same wavelength because, in essence, I identify as a winner, right? And as a winner, you drop me in a forest with a pack of wolves, I'm going to come out leading the pack of wolves, right? That's just my
You're gonna come
mindset.
out riding the wolf.
Absolutely, absolutely. But the thing is, I've come to understand that not everybody thinks and operates in that way, and that doesn't necessarily make them losers, right? And I want to speak to the people who are watching this thinking this has been the worst year of my life. This has
Mhm.
been the worst 10, 8, 9 months of my life. And I have no idea what to do. I have no idea what direction I'm headed in. I'm sad. I'm depressed. I have a hard time connecting with people. I just got laid off or I hate my job, right? Just the people who are in that mindset. I want to speak to you especially because if you're here, you're alive. And by you being alive, that means you have an opportunity, not tomorrow, not next week, not next year, not when COVID is over. You have an opportunity right now to make a decision to do something different. Oh my goodness. I don't
Yeah.
want to light nobody on fire, but I do want to speak to these people because I'm not speaking to you high and mighty, right? Like I've never been in that mindset before. As a matter of fact, I grew up in that mindset. I dealt with depression from as early as I can remember into my mid 20s, right? Like
How
dealt with
did you
hard.
deal with it, being a young man?
Right. Say that again.
I said, how did you deal with it being a young man? Like
I.
when you
You
affected
mean the healthy ways or the unhealthy ways?
both, you know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
I didn't start suffering, well, that I really identified with it. I didn't really start suffering from depression until like my mid to early 20s.
Wow.
It was like a huge wake up call. So I
Wow.
I just want to hear from your point of view, like what are some things that helped you through that
Yeah.
period in your life?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm more than happy to talk about it. I just want to make it crystal clear that this episode is about positivity. So we're delving into depression so that we can pull out a gem that's hopefully going to help some of the people that are watching this either live or on our podcast after the show. So to answer your question, Kat, how I dealt with it at first was I tried to eat it away. Right, I
Mm.
tried to eat it away with anything and everything I can put into my body. Most of it processed. I'm talking about hot pockets. I'm talking about corn dogs. I'm talking about Cheetos. Anything I can put into my body. You ever had an oatmeal cream pie? You ever had an
Oatmeal cream pie? Nah, I never had.
oatmeal cream? You know,
I had everything else that you said, but I never had no oatmeal cream pie.
oatmeal cream, bonbons, zigzags. That was my joint. I
You
promise you.
It's so funny that all those foods release certain endorphins in your body that give you temporary highs. And that's why we
Yeah,
go towards them, with the sugar
yeah,
and all that kind of stuff that
yeah,
stimulate us. And we're like, oh, I feel good for that quick
yeah,
moment to get
yeah,
to not think about the depression or what we're going through. But
yeah,
later on, you know,
yeah,
we have other issues when it comes to putting all those highly processed foods into our body.
yeah. And
Yeah,
I've
how did you
said
break
this.
away from
Right, right. And I want to touch on something. So I mentioned this in one of our previous episodes, but when I was 13, either 12 or 13, I was diagnosed as pre-diabetic. I didn't even know that was a diagnosis that you can get. But the doctor basically said, hey, if you keep doing this to your body, you're going to be diabetic by the time you're 14. And I was
Wow.
like, whatever, right? That's what depression is. That's literally how depression manifests, just a complete lack, right? Because that's what it is. Most people don't understand depression is just a lack of gratitude, In
Mm.
all honesty, it's a lack of love, it's a lack of appreciation. And we try and fill that hole with everything except what's actually supposed to be there,
Yeah.
right? So that being said, that's how I deal with it. I tried to eat it away, right? And then when I went to college, I went from food to women, right? And I tried to fuck it away, and
Yeah.
that didn't work. And after food, I went to women. After women, I went to drugs, right? Never anything super hard like heroin, but just marijuana,
Yeah.
right? I went to a so-called party school, so I tried to drink it away. It was the culture; it was super norm, right? So I thought it was normal, but I realized none of these things actually helped me. It wasn't until I went to Ghana, right? I went to Ghana, West Africa. I lived there for a year. It wasn't until I was there that I actually identified the depression because I was away from my friends. I was away from my women. I was away from drugs for the most part, right? I was away from processed foods. And I realized now that all of those things are gone, all I have is myself.
Yeah.
And I'm
And
fucking
you're able
sad.
to detox.
Yeah, yeah, and it was intense. It was intense, but since that, like I promise you, sitting here today, January 26, 2021, it's been at least 6 years because it's 2021, so 2015. It's been at least 6 years since
Mhm.
I've had depression, at
Right.
least six. And I like keep in mind, I dealt with this for like 16 years. I'm
Yeah.
very familiar with what it feels like. There hasn't been a day in my life since 2015 that I've dealt with depression. So
Yeah.
that's how I know you don't need no damn medication to get off it. Of course, it varies, right? But
Yeah.
what you need is something that is already within you, which
Mm.
is the ability to be grateful.
And like I said, happened a little bit later in life, but I went down that same path. Was dealing with it by, eating and drinking alcohol and doing all these
Mhm.
things, and it just kept on digging a deeper hole for me, deeper
Yeah.
hole, until the point I felt like I hit rock bottom, right? And when I hit that rock bottom feeling, when I was 250 pounds and finding
Woo.
myself in the emergency room,
Hmm.
being looked at as if I was having a heart attack, that's when I was like, okay, none of this stuff that I've been doing is working. I need to change my life. I need to do a complete 180, right? And it started with me diving deep within myself, you know what I'm saying? And looking at what I was thankful for, the family that I had, the kids, the whole nine, and letting go of these things slowly but surely, right? It didn't all happen at once, but over time, starting to let go of the alcohol, starting to eat a better diet, and all these steps, these small little steps that you take every single day, right? Starting to listen to ET.
Mm.
Ever listen to ET?
I've listened to ET, but there are people on this call who don't even know. They're thinking you talking about some damn Steven Spielberg movie, right? No,
Yeah.
no, no, no. Who is ET, brother?
Yeah, Eric Thomas is a motivational speaker. You can find so much stuff on social media, YouTube, but just listening to stuff like that, ET and Lisa Nichols, and just all of
Mhm.
these different people that have these positive messages, right? And start retraining my mind, right? And I feel like before then, I didn't understand how important it was to have a positive mindset on a daily basis, right? To see that the cup was half full and not half empty every day. What am I thankful for? What am I why is that one thing that just happened bothering me when I have 10 other blessings going on, but I can only focus on this one negative thing? Why am I gravitating towards this negative thing that's going on
Yeah,
in my life, right? And
yeah.
how to let those things go. And through meditation and affirmations and all these different practices that I've been practicing now over 6 years on a consistent basis, just like I work out, now it's easier to get out of those ruts. Not saying that it doesn't happen, right?
Mhm.
But it's easier to let go of these things when you experience them. So something that might have bothered me for like a day, 2 days, maybe a week, or even a month, now it's something that I could reflect on and look at. And through these practices that I've been practicing over 6 years now, it I'm able to let these things go within like a couple minutes, an
Mm.
hour, and then move
Mm.
forward in life and not have to use the food, the alcohol, and all these other things as crutches,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So so what were some of the other things that you utilized during that time?
Oh man. And I want to touch on something you said that I don't know if enough people caught, right? Before I answer that.
Yeah.
But when you became aware, and
Mm,
if you're watching this, write this down. If you don't have a pen and paper, get it tattooed on your freaking conscious mind because this is really important, right? You became aware that there was a problem.
mm,
You didn't realize for years
yeah.
that it was a problem for you to be thinking the way that you were. That's the first step. Even
Yeah.
with the Alcoholic Anonymous program, there's like a 7-step program. The first step is awareness.
Mm-hmm.
You got to identify that there's a problem. We can't even make a decision, at least not a sound one, until we identify that a problem is present. And to answer your question, that's what I utilized, right? When I was isolated by myself in Ghana, and I remember this like it was freaking yesterday, just sitting there in the dark, right? No drugs around, no women around, none of my best friends. I didn't have a television, I didn't have a microwave. I was just sitting there.
Mm.
And I was like, wow, I'm fucking sad.
Wow.
Like, I remember that. And that's when my life changed. When I had that, I had been dealing with this for almost 2 decades up to that point, at least consciously, as much as I was aware of, right? When I traced it back,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize it was a problem until everything I had used to escape from that problem was no longer in my life.
Yeah.
And that's when I made a decision to change. Now, when I say change, when we say change, Kat also touched on something really, really important about choosing. Oh, shoot.
Come on.
We're going to lose some people when we talk about choice. One of the most common phrases in American society is I can't. And
Mm.
that's like, when I hear that, it makes my skin crawl.
Yeah.
It makes my, that, right, right. I know you already know this, Cat, but if you're watching this and you've never heard this before, the two strongest words in the dictionary, the two most powerful words in the human language are I and am.
Mm.
I and am. What does that mean? That means that whenever you let I am come out of your mouth, you are defining yourself to yourself.
Mm. Reconfirmation.
And
Come on.
I don't know if they know what I mean. I don't know if they know what I mean.
Give them a
So when
couple.
you say
Give them a
I
couple. Examples.
I am fat, I
Mm.
am lazy,
I am
I
tired.
am tired,
Yeah.
I am anxious, I am a nigga,
Mm-hmm.
I am stupid, I can't. So anytime,
Low vibration, very low vibration words that we use
Mhm,
on a daily basis to describe
mhm.
different things that are going on. And what happens is those words become our reality, right? All those things that we embrace and we program ourselves to really believe these things, right? So how do we unprogram ourselves? What was the first step in the unprogramming of that to be able to
Yes.
be more positive, right?
Yes. Amen. Amen. So, again, the first step for me was identifying that there was a problem. The
Yeah.
second step was choosing. Let's go back to that word choice.
Mhm.
Let's go back to that word choice because if we can say, I am, followed by a negative affirmation, then we can also say, I am, followed by a positive affirmation.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel like you are, then you can easily say, I am becoming. I
Mhm.
am becoming intelligent. I
Yeah.
am becoming aware. I am becoming confident. I am becoming well dressed. Whatever you want to be, if you don't feel like you're there yet and you don't have the confidence to say that and mean it, then say, I am becoming. I am getting better every day. That's an affirmation I tell myself whenever I make a mistake, which is all the freaking time.
Just saying
I
I'm
am getting
better.
better every day. That's it.
Just
And
that.
like, And the thing is, Kat, I'll end with this because I realize we're about 25 minutes into the show. We spent half of this show talking about negative stuff. So I want to get into the
You gotta go through the dark to get to the light, right?
bam. That's a freaking nugget, right? And I got a Steve Harvey quote for you as soon as I wrap this up. But just remember, it starts with choice. Anything in life, it starts with choice. But until we become aware that we have choices, nothing is going to change. Because what we're going to do, and this is something I've learned doing the work that I do, because it's not just about finance, it's about a mindset shift, right? A shift out of the poverty mindset. The poverty mindset is worse than actual poverty because it's what creates a poverty reality. But realizing that we have a choice, and there wouldn't exist poverty if there didn't exist abundance. Mm. There wouldn't exist darkness if there didn't exist sunlight. There'd be nothing to compare it to. And so we have to understand.
The yin and the yang.
That's it. And which side are we choosing to exist on? And I don't mean externally, it starts inside. There's a good book I recommend called Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Check it out. Just check it out. It's like 100 pages. It's not going to take you that long to read. But if you don't know where to start, it's not even about becoming rich, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's not even about that.
Yeah. It's also an audio book on YouTube if people don't, say they have time to read. Right. You can, while you're in the car or whatever the case may be, just out and about, you can listen to the audio. You can get up on YouTube. I've listened to that maybe like 2 or 3 times.
You got it.
Every time you hear it, depending on where you're at in your journey, you can re-listen or reread a book and grab so many different other jewels because of the thought process and where you've been and where you've grown from that previous time that you received the messages, right?
Yes.
So definitely go check it out.
Amen. But with that said, I like to shift gears a little bit and share my screen. So if you're watching this, stay tuned because this is really, really, really good. And as a matter of fact, I don't know if you can't see the comments, but I don't see the comments. I know people are commenting. I know they're enjoying this show. I don't see the comments. So if you're here, please keep posting. We love to hear from you. We want to share what you're taking away from this episode. But while you're doing that, Brother Cat, I'm going to share my screen. And let's see if you remember this. Brother Cat. Oh, my goodness. We're going to bring it to the people. We're going to bring it to the people. Can you see this? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the people who are listening to this, would you mind just breaking down what we're looking at just real quick?
Yeah, man. This was the day we actually met at a podcast in, what was it? West Oakland. Right. Prior to that, I remember that whole day at the podcast because we were kind of just like kicking it in the back, waiting for everybody to set up and everything. And I forget who you were talking to, but the conversation came up where you said something about being vegan. And I know you don't hear too many brothers talking about being vegan, first of all, especially in West Oakland. And you were in the kitchen, and I was like, huh? I was like, okay, I gotta talk to that brother when we get an opportunity. I remember we were in the back before we went on, and then we chopped it up, and then we had a great episode. And at the end, we took this picture with the whole team.
Yeah.
Man, great day.
And man.
Been like this pretty much ever since.
And I mean, shout out to Denzel and Create the Space. If you've never heard of Create the Space, look them up. That's CR8, the space. Look them up. They're doing amazing things, not just in the Bay Area, but all over the nation, bringing people together to have really critical conversations. And that is exactly why Cat and I met on this date. And he said it wonderfully because it's been that way ever since. He overheard me having a conversation about something that piqued his interest. He took the initiative. He took the choice to approach me about it. And we just started up a conversation. Followed each other on social media, and then we ended up connecting. I found out he was into fitness. I found out he was a vegan bodybuilder. I found out he was very well connected in the community, doing amazing things like Heal the Hood. And I was like, I need to connect with this guy because he's exactly what I am, just in another industry, right? So extremely powerful. And the reason I'm sharing this picture is because I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this. But The reason I shared that picture is because I wanted people to see that it's not where you're from, it's where you're at,
Mm,
right? It's not where you're from, it's where you're at. Imagine if Kat and I would have just kept that conversation in that moment. And
yeah,
that was like, what, maybe a year ago?
that
A
was
little less than a year ago?
that was May of
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah, a little less than a year ago. So that was during COVID, during the pandemic, when the fear was way higher than it is now,
Yeah,
or at least as high as it is now, right? But we chose to go outside of our comfort zone, to be around some friends and good people. Of course, everybody took the necessary precautions, but still, we didn't give our choice away. We chose in that moment to go to a space where we felt we were needed. We took advantage of that space, and our lives have changed because of it. And we're choosing to change others' lives because of it. This is just our story.
yeah.
This is,
How many times? How many times? I remember we had a conversation maybe like 2 or 3 days ago, right?
oh, wow.
When you were telling me you were at was it Trader Joe's,
Oh, yes, sir. Yes,
right?
sir.
And it was just because that story really resonated with me because your spirit guided you to this person that you felt like you needed to have a conversation with, right?
Absolutely.
And I feel like so many times we're guided on a daily basis, right? Like just like when I heard what you were saying, my spirit told me you need to talk to that guy for whatever reason. I didn't know all these things were going to occur after we had this conversation, but my
Hmm.
spirit at that moment said, "Hey, you need to, when you get a second, get that guy's attention and, at least chop it up real quick and see where the
Hmm.
conversation goes." How many
Yeah.
of us receive those? We all receive messages every single day, whatever they may be, right? Whatever kind of guidance and positivity and getting us on the track that we need to be.
Yeah.
But how many of us don't follow that? You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
Getting into that space where we allow the greatness to be present in front of us and feeding off that energy.
yeah. Talk to him, preacher. Talk to him.
I'm just saying it's one of those things that we see all the time. It's like, man, you hear all these successful people from anybody you could think about, right? All these people get put in different scenarios where they end up at the place that they needed to be at the exact right time and right moment to meet somebody or to have a conversation, whatever the case may be, right? And I feel like everybody that I've heard over the years, right? Because I listen to all different people's stories and backstories and all that kind of stuff. And it all sounds so similar. You know what I'm saying? It all sounds so similar, allowing their higher self, their higher consciousness to allow them to gravitate to like-minded people, right? I feel
Hmm.
like we all are on certain frequencies, whatever that may
Hmm.
be, right? But we have the choice each and every day or each and every moment actually to put that frequency out there, right?
Yeah.
And once we allow that frequency or that energy to go out there, and that's what we're seeking at that present moment,
Hmm.
more of it will start to become our reality, right?
Man, and let me I really like to tell this story because what you said is like so on point. And I really hope now that was very conceptual. And I don't know if people like, for example, 3, 4 years ago, I wouldn't have really caught what you just said because you're
Mm,
talking about the power of manifestation, right?
yeah.
What you put out is what you get in return for the better or for the worse.
Law of
I was
attraction.
listening, law of attraction, right? I
Yeah.
was listening to our very first podcast when I was in the shower this morning, right? And it
Yeah.
was like, oh my goodness, this is freaking amazing because basically our first conversation where you spotted me out and you were like, hey, did you mention you're a vegan? Every conversation we've had has just been a continuation of that because
Yeah.
essentially we put it out into the universe. I'm looking for people like me.
Come on.
That's what we put into the universe, and look what we got. And our
Yeah.
conversations have been so pivotal that we're like, oh my goodness, we need to have this conversation with more people. We
Yeah.
need to outreach to more people. And that's what started the Cat and Kwesi show. Because this isn't about us, this is about you.
Yeah.
But that being said, do you mind if I tell this story real quick about
No,
what
go
happened at
ahead.
Trader Joe's?
Come on.
Okay. So I'm going to be candid in saying that this is business and professional related, right? But the work that I do isn't what I do, it's who I am. And I'm going to be very transparent about that. So, in my role, I am a recruiter. I'm one of the lead recruiters for my company. I take my role very seriously because I know I have the opportunity to change lives. Every single person I introduce to our company, I have a chance to change their life as long as they choose to take that opportunity. Of course, they got to qualify to work with this background check, whatever, right? But I'm always, always, always looking for good people. Now, I was at Trader Joe's. I'm just shopping, getting some dinner for me and the wife, picking up a bottle of wine, no big deal. I'm in the checkout line, right? So there's this woman in front of me and she goes to check out. And I see a gentleman at the cash register and he's checking her out. And I can tell they don't know each other, right? But they're having an amazing conversation. An amazing conversation. And I'm like, damn, are y'all church buddies? Did you go camping together when you were kids? Like, what's the freaking deal? As a recruiter, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this guy is really good at connecting with people, right? I wonder if he's keeping his options open.
He's a people person.
He's, man, and people persons do really, really well in life. Forget this company, but really, really well in life. And you don't need to be an extrovert to be a people person. That's one of the most common misconceptions, besides the point. So it's my turn, and I'm going to check out, and I realize, you know what? It's hella busy. There are about 7 people in line behind me. I got maybe 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes max to kind of feel him out, see if he would be a good fit, exchange business cards, whatever, give him a call, right? So I'm standing there. I start up a conversation, never seen this dude in my life. I ask him, hey, how long you been working here? Really simple. How long you been working here? One of the first things he says is too long.
We won't disclose his name, so Trader Joe's going to come looking for him.
I didn't even tell you what Trader Joe's. I was at the Trader Joe's on Jupiter.
Yeah.
But and he says too long, right? And he kind of says it with some humor, but I can tell behind every good joke there's some truth, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so he's dissatisfied. And as a recruiter, I'm thinking this is a perfect opportunity to ask him if he's open to something different. Now, Kat, you know how God works? You know how God works? God is such a genius that whenever we want to be blessed, it presents itself in a problem.
Yeah.
That's how much of a genius God is. That's how well he knows humans, because we're naturally attracted to negativity. I don't know. When we have to have conversations about how, we're not talking about how to stay negative during COVID. People are really good at that.
Yeah.
People are really good at that. They're having a fucking blast doing that. Yeah. Staying positive, right? So literally, I'm checking out. We're getting to the point where I'm about to exchange business cards. His supervisor comes up behind him, taps him on the shoulder, and he's like, hey, break time. And I'm like, break time? Hell, he's literally in the middle of checking my stuff out. That's how I know God is funny. God is like really, really funny. He's in the middle of checking my stuff out. His supervisor comes up and says, hey, break time. And his supervisor, this big old chunky dude, not a smile on his face. I'm like, not recruitable. Yeah. And I'm like, where did my guy go? Right? So literally, Kat, I finished checking out. I go outside and I see the guy I was talking to. He's about 30 feet away in the parking lot, about 30 feet. And I'm like, okay, I could be a weirdo. I could leave my stuff here, potentially get robbed and go and chase this dude down. Or I could be a gentleman and a classy one and finish packing my stuff, go in the car and then find him. Kat, tell me why. It took me 5 minutes to get all my groceries in the bag. 5 minutes. I go to the car, put all my stuff in. I look around the parking lot. Guess what happened? Guess what happened?
He's nowhere to be found.
He disappeared. Aliens or the rapture, or he murdered somebody and was on the lam. Whatever happened,
he was out of there.
He was out. East Oakland drive-by. He was gone. Ricky, like my man was out. Okay. I was like, what's happening? Right? Yeah. This is how I knew. Every blessing presents itself in the form of a problem. And I was like, okay, if I was most people, I would give up. Yeah. I would say, this isn't for me. It's not worth it. This is too much of a hassle. This mountain is too high to climb. Let me just pack up my crap and go home and lose the day. But I was like, what the hell? It's not like I didn't have those thoughts, but the more powerful thoughts were, what if this is such a problem because I'm meant to pursue him? What if life is asking me, how badly do you want to get his name and number? Because he might be the person who needs you a lot more than you need him. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to allow this to be choice. I'm going to allow this to be the dominant thought, pursuit and persistence, right? So I parked my car. I go back to Trader Joe's and I asked the lady in the front. Now, keep in mind, this wasn't the end of the obstacles because there's a line about 70 people deep, right? Pandemic. There's a line about 70 people deep. I've already got my shit. I'm outside. I'm at my car. I go to the lady up front and I ask her, hey, have you seen Caleb?
Hmm.
And she's like, oh, yeah, I have. He's over by the bananas. And I'm like, wow, this guy moves really freaking fast. So I go back inside, I find him, and I'm like, okay, so we didn't get to finish our conversation, but or you keep your options open to make a long story short. So I say all that to say growth happens in the discomfort zone. That
Yeah.
was extremely uncomfortable. Extremely uncomfortable to go up to this guy I've never met before, start up a conversation. The conversation ends awkwardly, go back and find him again. To make a long story short, I ended up recruiting him. I got his
Wow.
number. I called him the next day. We sat down. We had an amazing conversation. He told me about some of his goals. I said, we can help you achieve those goals as long as you're willing to work for it. Ended up recruiting him, and he just got started today. Today was his first day. And that all
Wow.
happened from like a few days ago
Come on.
because I
You
went
just
out of
told
my,
me that story, like
yeah,
literally, like what was it, three
yeah,
or 4 days ago?
yeah, when it probably wouldn't happen like that night or the next day.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
But But how do you take that positive mentality and apply that to your entire life? Because that, the more that I'm around you, it's not just that one aspect that you
Yeah.
utilize that, right? You take that same positive mentality and you attack everything that challenges you, right? Just recently we started working together um, in a training fashion. So I'm
Oh,
now
yeah.
training you, right? And I see that same mentality when you face a challenge inside the gym,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
You're like, damn, I can be a little bit stronger. I can give it a little bit more effort, right? Just when most people would stop or quit or say, no, I can't do this, you're
Mhm.
like, okay, let me figure this out. Where did that stem from? Right? Was that something
Yeah,
that was that
man.
a quality that you always had, or was that something that you built over time once you start seeing
Oh,
certain
wow.
results?
Yeah, no, it was definitely the latter. Definitely the latter. Because
Yeah.
as I mentioned, I grew up, even though I was a happy kid, that's how most people remember me as a happy kid. I wasn't happy inside. Right.
Yeah.
I remember that. I felt like a dark hole in space inside. Right. So I
Mhm.
knew how to smile really good and put on a face. But that's not the same thing as actually being, it's like an empty candy wrapper. Right. It looks full until you open and there's nothing inside. That's pretty much what I remember most of my childhood being, right?
Mm.
So as I've learned to, and I'm the thing is, if you're watching this, I'm still on my journey.
We
I'm
all are.
still on my journey. And that's the
Yeah.
thing, like when I was in that space, the dark hole space, I would look around me. I used to idolize like Soldier Boy growing up because I just watching his videos. He looks so happy. He's
Yeah.
got his super baggy shirts on. He's got all these women around him. He's throwing money. He must be the coolest, happiest guy on earth, right? That's how empty I was inside because I was looking for anything and everything I could just attach myself to that would bring me a real sense of joy.
Mm.
And what I found is that everything that I've ever needed was inside
Mm.
the whole time.
Mm. Come on. Drop
I
some
don't want
jewels
to,
on them real quick,
yeah,
Quest.
man. I don't want to lose nobody because we live in a society that tells you you are incomplete unless you have the latest and greatest bam, whatever
Yeah.
that is,
You
whatever
got
the newest thing
the,
is.
the new
If you don't have
car, the
this,
new Versace belt, or
yeah, Ferragamo,
glasses, or whatever it be. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
man, cell
And
phone,
but it's so funny. As you listen to more and more really successful people, right? That not just do it for a short period of time, right? But do it for a long period of time. They all get to a point where they go through that phase, right? Oh, I need all the materialistic type stuff. I need the fancy cars. I need all the gold or whatever it might be, right?
hmm
And they get to a point where they realize that's not what I was looking for this whole time, right?
hmm
All those things, all those possessions. Not saying that, you shouldn't desire certain possessions like a house, car, whatever the case may be, but that doesn't feel the void, just like you were saying a second ago. Those things don't feel that void. Maybe for a moment in time, but moving forward, once you have that and you realize you still have to deal with certain things within yourself and still keep that space, right? How do you make that transition? You know, I know.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
man.
Uh-oh.
No,
It looked like,
that's a good question.
yeah.
Yeah, it's coming out. It's coming out. I actually haven't talked about this in a long time. Like we didn't really have this conversation in the warm up before the show, right? Like
Yeah.
this is we're going somewhere right now. So if you're watching this, definitely take
Yeah.
advantage of this moment. Don't take it for granted. Take advantage, right? Because these conversations, especially with two young men of color, are not
Yeah.
happening. That doesn't
Yeah.
mean that what we're talking about internally isn't happening. That just means that by and large, there
Being
are other
vulnerable.
ways man, it is it's even deep because as a black man, when I hear that word vulnerable, I'm a
Yeah.
little triggered, right? I'm a little triggered because in this society, to be vulnerable, especially as a black man, is to put yourself in essentially execution chamber, right?
Yeah.
Like you, in some way, shape, or form, you got whether that's emotionally, spiritually, mentally, especially physically. If you're vulnerable, that's a sign of weakness, for lack
Yeah.
of a better word. And I can't say that it's completely ridiculous that a lot of black men feel that way, right? But at the same time, our strength is in our vulnerability.
Yeah.
I remember in our very first episode, I went a little in depth talking about Ghana. Do you remember I mentioned that men like hold hands in
Yeah.
public? Do you remember
Yeah.
that? Right, right. That's I wasn't making that up, by the way. That like heterosexual men hold hands in public as a sign of friendship, as a sign of affection. These are black men, so called,
Yeah.
halfway across the world, look just like me and Kat, holding hands as a sign of affection.
Yeah, but we we've been programmed to think, like you were saying that first episode, we've been programmed to think so many things instantly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, two men,
Right,
can two men hug?
right.
Can two men do this? Like,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
our society, you instantly think
yeah,
to the far right or far left or
yeah,
whatever the case may be. You'd be
yeah.
like, oh my God, those guys must be undercover, this and that. And it's like, okay,
Why
you
do you
know.
care so much? Right? Like, who put those thoughts in your head where you're like, this is the presiding thought in my head now? I'm so concerned. Well, who cares if they're undercover? Who cares if they are gay? That's not your problem.
Yeah,
That's not your problem. That's God, right? Like, let Him deal with that.
yeah,
But as humans, like so quick
to
to
place
be
judgment.
programmed, right?
Mhm.
And like to, and the thing is, when we do things like that aren't feeding our body with positivity, right? Because thoughts of fear, thoughts of anxiety, thoughts of worry, thoughts of doubt, thoughts of lack of confidence, that's not God's doing.
Mm-mm. He
That is
fills
not what.
you full of abundance. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
And that's our primary fuel. That doesn't mean that we can't run on anything else. Because we can see, honestly, if you eat bonbons every day, you're not going to die. You're probably going to be really sluggish and not feel too good about yourself, but you're not going to die. And I can tell you because I've done it, I've been there eating
Yeah,
processed foods daily more than fruits. Like, what the hell is a fruit and vegetable? I eat fruit snacks. Like,
yeah,
that was my fruit. I'm not kidding with you right now. And if our bodies can run on that crap, then so can our minds. But just think, if you had a car and you really love that car, are you going to put the cheapest gas in it or the best gas?
yeah.
Oh, I can't afford the best gas. Stay with me. Okay. If money isn't a problem, okay. That's another conversation for next episode.
But you know what's even funnier? The person that has that car is willing to put that gas into their car before they're willing to put that gas into their own body.
Ooh, American
You know what I'm
society.
saying? That
Yeah.
we're willing to go and get that 80 to $100,000 car, which probably is not in the budget, and we're willing to get the tune-ups and all the things that we need to do with that, and put ourselves in an uncomfortable position sometimes, and find an excuse why we don't have the food and other resources that we need that really serve us at the end of
Yes.
the day.
Yes. Yes.
You get what I'm
And
saying? We're not willing to sacrifice showing everybody else, oh, I don't need that car. My health is more important in the long run. I can always get another car. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I rather run my health to the dirt and on the outside of everything look
Yeah.
good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Have the flyest clothes on, the nicest car, but internally put the worst of the worst when it comes to nutrition and the other stuff inside my body.
Yeah. And it like
You know what I'm
it,
saying?
you want to hear something crazy? You want to hear something crazy? I don't know if you want to hear this because I might offend some people when I say this, but statistically, right, in 21st century America, 81% of Americans have insurance on their phones.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay? Insurance on their phones. 81%.
You know why?
Fifth.
It's their life. It's their life.
Okay.
It's their perception of life.
There you go. Perception. Perception. Because 59% have insurance on their lives.
Mm,
81% have insurance on their phones that cost like $1,000. What's the price of a human life?
priceless.
Priceless. As a matter of fact, it's so priceless that we can't create it outside of two human beings coming together.
Yeah.
That's the only way that we can create it.
Yeah.
That's how priceless it is. And there are some people who can't even do that. That's how priceless life is. But we put 81% of people saying this is more important than my life.
Yeah. And the things that I see on it is more important than my life. Living through other people's lives, following other people's lives is more important than my life because I
Yeah.
have time to follow my favorite whoever, my social media friend, whatever the case may be, every single move versus taking that same 30 minutes to an hour to invest into my health and what really matters to me or me moving forward or me growing or me developing as a human being.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Let's do this, right? If you're watching this right now, here's some homework because we're wrapping this show up and we want to make sure that we're providing the ultimate value to you if you're watching this. You took an hour to spend time with Cat and Kwesi. I challenge you to take at least an hour to spend time with yourself today. And
Mm.
in this hour, all that you're gonna do, you're not gonna run a mile.
You might scare them with an hour though.
I
Should we start
know,
them
I
off with an
know.
hour?
I mean,
Bite size, bite
good.
size. You
Okay,
know,
what? 20 minutes?
like 15,
20.
15,
Okay, 15.
15, 15
Yeah,
minutes.
Cat's a nice guy,
You know what I'm saying? Start off
a
with
wise
bite
guy.
size. You know
I
what I'm
like
saying?
that. Okay, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Fine. If you're a 20 percenter, spend an hour with yourself. But besides the point, 15 minutes. In these 15 minutes, just get a pen, get a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be a fancy piece of paper. Get a piece of paper, write down 5 things that you're grateful for. That's it.
Mm,
That's
man.
it. Get a piece of paper and a pen that freaking works. Sit down, 15 minutes, write 5 things that you're grateful for,
Mm. And
and then
then
just think
post
on it.
them where you can see it every day.
That's
You
a
gotta
nugget.
you gotta post it where you see it every day. Whether it's in your bathroom, whether it's on your refrigerator, somewhere that you whether it's at your desk at the house, somewhere where you're gonna see that every day. Right?
Yeah, yeah. And
Because
just
go ahead.
no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say because it's so many different times that we forget those 5 things, whatever it may be, right? But then after you write down your first 5, every day add another thing, something that you've received that day to add to the list, right? And see how that list grows each and every day. And then within 30 days, look at all the things that you're thankful for, that you have gratitude for, and then continue to grow upon that, right? And then just like you were saying, things that you want to get better at life, right? Name 5 things that you want to change about your life right now.
Oh man, I want to. I am going to. I
Mhm.
am more grateful.
Yeah.
Right? More grateful because there's no such thing as too much gratitude. There's
No.
no such thing is in It is a bountiful, abundant resource, right? Gratitude. If we can feel an unlimited amount of negativity, then we can feel an unlimited amount of gratitude, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing, showing more appreciation to my wife,
Yeah.
right? Like that's extremely important because I realize as a man, right? I'm a believer, I'm a traditionalist. I believe that God created man and woman to be together, right? That's what I believe. I believe that God created woman as man's companion,
Yeah.
right? And through that, we are supposed to discover and master ourselves, right? I'm one of those old school guys, right? So I believe that self mastery, right, is something that I need to become better at, and I am becoming better at. The third one, exercising more,
Mm.
right? This is something, and I appreciate you for this because you, for somebody who didn't grow up exercising and working out or really having that in my vicinity, that's very foreign to me, right?
Yeah.
And even though I played sports growing up, I was always more of an academic, right? I just gravitated more towards the library. I gravitated more towards reading books. That's just what I like to do, right? That didn't
Yeah.
stop me from eating like an athlete, but still, right? I do need to, I am going to start working out more often, which means getting up earlier, which means spending more time with myself, which means being intentional, right?
Mhm.
One of the best ways that I've found to stay positive, and I want to ask you the same question, but I'm going to wrap up with this, right? I got three for you. I got three for you. I'll come back with the other two later.
Yeah.
If you're watching this as we wrap up, just realize that what's happening isn't normal. And we recognize that. We're in the midst of a pandemic. Human beings are social beings. What does that mean, Kwesi? That means it's in our DNA, it's in our nature to socialize with other people.
Yeah.
It's in our nature.
From the day we're born, if you take a newborn baby away from everybody, from social contact, I forgot the statistic. Within, I forget, like a day or two, the baby would actually die if you
Yeah,
take it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Just from being nurtured and being, you can give it
yeah.
food still, but we crave being in those social environments. You know what I'm
Real
saying?
talk. Real
Yeah.
talk. And even more than that, when you look at our prison industrial system,
Yeah.
right, if you want to call it that, just isolated torture chambers. When you look at something like solitary confinement, right, and that's seen as a punishment for the worst kinds of criminals, solitary confinement. Why is that? Because you're doing something more than just putting them in a cell by themselves. You're isolating them from the human experience. And that's a different kind of torture. That's a different kind of pain. So I say all that to say what's happening right now is not normal. And just the fact that you're here and you're maintaining your sanity, you're choosing to be present, you're practicing gratitude, you're practicing mindfulness, you're doing something to become 1% better every single day. That is something you need to give yourself a round of applause for because for
Come on.
now, if that's all you can do, then that's enough.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, do more.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say that. But Kat, I'd like to hear from you. What are three things that you want to work on to practice more gratitude?
Yeah, every time that I reflect upon myself, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things that each day, the things that I feel that most challenge me sometimes are the things that I actually, how can I put it? So when you have a conversation, have you ever had a conversation with somebody and the things that you start to have that conversation with that person about, with that particular person, you're really talking to yourself
Absolutely. Every day.
every day? Okay. So coming from that space, understanding when I'm hearing that from myself, my subconscious is like, no, you're really talking to you in this present moment. These are changes that you need, these adjustments that you need to make, implementing those as soon as possible. Those little changes, because you get them, and once you start hearing it, you're like, oh, that's a gem that I need to really start. I really need to give myself. And when we have these conversations with not only us, but with others, I see that those gems that we give away, those are reminders. of things that you constantly need to incorporate in your daily lifestyle, you know.
Hmm.
And it's
Amen.
one of those things, if you don't use it, you lose it,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
fail to realize you can work out as much as you want for the next year or so, but as soon as you stop, all those gains that you got within that last year, they're not going to continue with you on this journey. They're going to
Hmm.
slowly fade away,
That's
right?
it.
And you
That's
have to
it.
think about that. That goes for all aspects. The other day, I made a post on my IG. It was a 70-year, I think she was 78, 78-year old or 78-year young woman on there strength training, right? On the squat
Hmm.
rack working out, right?
Hmm.
She's probably been doing that for I don't know how many years now, right? But people fail to realize it's not a finish line. None of this
Hmm.
is a finish line. All these practices, all these jewels that we give, these are practices that we use on a daily basis, y'all. These are things that continue to help us grow on our own personal journey, and we share those with those around us, and we continue to grow with each other, right? Sharing
Hmm.
this positive energy with each other. We feed off of each other, right? And the more people that you can surround yourself with that same positive energy each and
Hmm.
every day is going to keep on taking you to that next level, whatever that may be for you in your own personal journey, right?
Yes.
So
Amen.
continue to surround yourself with people that feed you with something, right?
Yes. Yes.
Continue if you feel like the circle that you're currently in is not feeding you at all, it's time to step into a new circle, y'all.
Hmm.
Whatever I know sometimes we look at it like, man, I've known these people all my life and I grew up with these people. But if it's time for you to grow and make this change for yourself, it's better for you to go on this journey alone and find a new circle than staying in the same old circle and keeping that frequency low. Because if you're able to uplift your frequency and those that known you since day one see you make a change, you're able to motivate and change them to do something more positive in their life at the end of the day.
Amen.
You know?
Amen. And that's we're dropping freaking gems. If you're getting something from this, all that I ask, because we're literally about to wrap up. We've officially passed the hour mark. We don't want to keep y'all here all night, but follow me, Kwesi.dreams on Instagram. Follow Cat Fitness 3 on Instagram, and stay tuned for more because
Yeah.
this is just the beginning. We're going to have guest speakers, we're going to have prizes, we're going to have raffles, we're going to have some life changing decisions that are all happening in this space. But you can't be a part of it unless you stay tuned. And my next challenge to you, so we got our 5 gratitude challenge, 15 minutes, no big deal, 15
Yeah.
minutes. And also tell a friend.
Yeah.
Tell a friend about what you experienced.
Make sure those that are on here right now, go ahead and hit the share button real quick. You can enter our free raffle. What I'm actually going to be giving away at the end of this month is a free month of training and coaching, online training and coaching. So to enter the raffle doesn't take anything but you hitting that share button right now, commenting and tagging a friend, and you're in the raffle, y'all. So make
Wow.
sure if you're still on here, you hung out the whole episode, take full advantage of it, right? Because this could be the next step in your health journey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, whoever wins that prize, whoever wins that raffle, I'm going to throw in a free copy of my book, Pieces of My Soul, Volume 1. I mentioned this in the very first episode, but I wrote a book while I was in Ghana, just detailing my experiences. I talk about overcoming depression. I talk about some of the issues that I had with my parents and childhood traumas that were unresolved. I talked about falling in love and getting my heart broke for the first time ever. Not pleasant, but necessary.
Yeah.
So whoever wins that grand prize, I would throw in a free copy of my book. But with that being said, Cat Fitness, anything else? Are we good to go?
Nah, just make sure you tune in every Tuesday at 5 p.m., y'all. Also, you'll be able to re-listen to this on Spotify. So go ahead and follow us on Spotify. Heal the Hood is going to be broadcasted on our Heal the Hood podcast as well. Like always, man, we love you. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us. And what do you got to leave them with today, Kwesi?
Be easy, be blessed, stay positive. If you
All right.
here, you blessed.
All right. We're going to see you next Tuesday, y'all. All right. Peace out.